So here's what I think, Jonathan. Um, Here is my meditation in response to yours. And I think in our day and age, we have to admit right off the bat that any theology is an anthropology. It's the human being dealing with this thing that we can't get out of our minds, God. None of us are quite sure what it is, but let's do theology and try to figure out, or perhaps just try to uh, creatively display this thing, or perhaps this process which we call God or Spirit. You were asking some profound questions at the beginning of your video, Jonathan. You were talking about your original proof of God being based in the idea that, well, all of these bodies in motion, being merely vessels, must have been caused by a prime mover of some kind, a first efficient cause. And this is Newtonian. Newton never really offered an explanation for the cause of the motion of any of the bodies in the universe. All of his billiard balls had to be pushed around by the finger of God. And I think what Newton leaves out, what Newtonian physics leaves out, is formal and final causality. Or at least it makes these causes transcendent to nature, transcendent to the universe itself. So God becomes a capricious, uncontrollable expresser, a high school artist, or whatever you said, Jonathan. Just everything becomes a random actualization of one of the infinite possibilities of God. And so is in itself not that significant. Just a random puff of universal emptiness. But maybe the Newtonian worldview is incorrect in its understanding of the natural world. Maybe the world isn't a thing which has been created. Maybe the universe never was created. And that doesn't mean that there's nothing. It means rather that the universe is still in the process of generating itself. And we as human beings find ourselves caught up in this, what becomes an anthropocosmogenesis, a human being in the process of becoming the universe, and vice versa. That's what's happening. So what could we mean by God or Spirit in this context? The human being is first an organism, and somehow, as an organism, at my essential level, as single free-living cells. Of course, they're not free-living in my own body. They form an ecosystem of symbiotic relations. Not only symbiotic, but cybernetic. They allow me to internalize information, and complexify my own sensation of my body. And so, when we talk about particles and waves, I don't think particles sort of dissolve into waves and that everything becomes a smeared out realm of interconnected possibility where all is in a sort of amorphous, cloud-like oneness. I think there is granularity, there is particularity and individuality. The universe folds in on itself, it centrates, and becomes aware in ever-increasing and more intense ways. And somehow this self-motion, this emotion, is an intrinsic part of the evolution of the universe. So unlike in a Newtonian cosmology where nature is a mere machine, in this kind of an organic, uncreated, but rather in the process of generating itself, that sort of a cosmogenesis, it allows for a God that is actual, not merely possible, but present, a present God. And I think it's a question of time and eternity, really. It's a question, of when you ask Jonathan where a body's motion comes from originally. If the body is merely a vessel, then where did it get its organizational momentum? I think to ask that question, we're separating merely secular time from eternity. And I think secular time is in some way an illusion. It's a temporary appearance. Only eternity is real, and only eternity ultimately exists, because eternity contains time. So God could not be separate from the actual universe, and however time ends up, it will be whole and integral with its beginning. Alpha and Omega will of necessity be in harmony, you would think. Or would you? I don't know. Apparently that's what I think. But it's more than interesting to talk about God, because what is it we're really after when we talk about this kind of stuff? Ultimate purpose? Is God the final cause of the universe? Or is the human being? And isn't that hubristic? Isn't that a little self-congratulatory, a little anthropocentric? It is, but maybe that's our curse or our destiny. We must become the creators of the universe. Perhaps we already have. The human beings have at least remade the planet Earth. We haven't remade heaven. We're certainly storming it, though. Maybe we live in interesting times.